I am made of the light that hung the stars in the night, a perfect thought since time began. I am one with the love that's holding all of us. Its power in my hand. I am called by the voice of truth and joy, forever blessed where I stand. I am. I am made of the light that hung the stars in the night, a perfect thought since time began. I am one with a love that's holding all of us. Its power in my hand. I am. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Unity Temple in the Plaza, a place where diversity is praised and peace and harmony are the rewards. 60 years ago today, Mrs. Taubman brought forth to this great earth of ours a son named Jeffrey. Jeffrey, would you please come forward? Come on.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeffrey. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. You a happy birthday. And by the way, that was Carrie's idea. If you're here for the first time or visiting us from out of town, we give you a special welcome. If you raise your hand, the ushers will bring you a visitor's packet, and we invite you downstairs for community time after the service. And it's now time to begin our service with the temple chimes, the opening prayer, and the call to inspiration. The opening prayer can be found on the inside page of on the screen. Say it with me if you choose. On this day, we dedicate ourselves to peace on earth. We accept ourselves without harsh judgment and express appreciation for our individuality. We live without fear to meet the events of this day with confidence. We accept others without prejudice to experience a sense of unity with all people. We honor our earthly environment and recognize a oneness with all creation. In harmony with ourselves, our lives, other people, and all in nature, we live this day with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. Okay, stand if you're able. We're gonna sing a hymn this morning. Sing them over again to me, wonderful words of life. Let me more of their beauty see, wonderful words of life. Words of life and beauty, teach me faith and duty. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Words of promise for all mankind, wonderful words of life. Bringing comfort and peace of mind, wonderful words of life. Promises to cheer me, words I treasure dearly. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Words of wisdom enrich my soul, wonderful words of life. Ever strengthen and make me whole, wonderful words of life. Gems of wisdom thrilling, thirst for truth fulfilling. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, as dreamers do, fate is kind. She brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through, and you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through, and you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Thank you.
Beautiful rendition of one of the most beautiful songs I think ever written. Thank you so much. Yeah, beautiful. Good morning, everybody. So it seems there was this pastor who was called to visit a fellow in his congregation who was extremely ill. Pastor arrives, walks in the door, and stands next to the gentleman's bed, and all of a sudden, the fellow seems to be in a dire circumstance. He can hardly breathe, and he's trying to get some words out of his mouth, but he can't speak. And so, realizing this, the pastor steps over to a little tray here and grabs a piece of paper and a pencil and comes back over to the guy, and the fellow's trying to write something down on the paper. He still can't speak. All of a sudden, he takes one last gasp, and he passes away. So immediately the doctors and so forth are coming in trying to tend to the situation. The pastor picks up the piece of paper and slips it into his pocket, and then he starts delivering a prayer for this fellow who just made his transition. A few days later, same pastor is assigned the privilege of officiating at this fellow's memorial service, and he's engaged in delivering the eulogy. And all of a sudden he remembers that this fellow was trying to say something just before he passed away, and it's probably on this piece of paper in the guy's pocket. So the pastor reaches into his pocket and he says, "This is really amazing. I just now remembered that this fellow was trying to say something as he passed away, and I'm going to share it with you because it's his last words, and I think he would want you all to hear them." So the pastor opens up the note and he says, "You're standing on my oxygen tube." I'm glad you're all laughing at that. Yeah. So I have a question for you this morning. Who is standing on your oxygen tube? Who is standing on the tube that's providing your life support and your potential to live the enriched life that you're intended to live? And I'm just going to propose to you, as I often like to do, standing up here, it's nobody else but you. It's nobody else but me. We are the ones. It's sometimes illustrated with the idea of, a fellow trying to water his garden and he can't do it, and he doesn't understand why there's no water coming through until he looks down and sees that it's his foot that's on the garden hose. And this morning, I hope that if I don't share anything else, I'm able to share with you some ideas that will liberate you in a way that allows you to live the full, rich life that I believe we're all intended to live while we're hanging around on this planet. I have a question for you this morning. How you been feeling? How you feeling right now? I hope you're all feeling good, but in the event that during the past week or past day or 24 hours you have had any experiences with frustration or anxiety anger or overwhelm. I know we're all very good true students here, students of Unity, so we never have any problems with any of those issues and never have to experience those feelings. Chuckle, chuckle. We all do have those. That's part of being alive, right? One thing, though, if you recall, I've been sharing with you the concept of an authentic self and an inauthentic self. You can always be certain that if you are having the experience of frustration or anxiety, if you're experiencing anger or feeling overwhelmed, it is always, always, always because you and I, we all do this, we're looking toward this inauthentic nature that we've defined ourselves to be. Often referred to as the ego or as the carnal mind, if you will, or sense consciousness. And we always know we're in that space when we're completely preoccupied with stuff, activities, people, and events that are going on outside of us. Because the inauthentic world is all going on out here. All the product of inauthentic energy that is being brought forth into our lives because we misunderstand who and what we are. We've been conditioned all throughout our childhood, from the moment we arrive on the planet, by this collective consciousness of inauthenticity. Thus, we experience its attributes: conflict, disease, lack, and above all, fear. If instead, today or during this past week, you have been feeling at ease, and I love that word ease, don't you? It's like ease, and I like the word that goes with it, easy. No one ever really taught me that life is intended to be easy. And one of my favorite mantras is, easy does it. So just take that in this morning, ease. If you've been experiencing ease, if you've been walking into life circumstances with a certain level of confidence because you know that there's more power at work in the situations of your life than you are aware of, and that's backing you up, it's there to support you. If you are in a state of tranquility where an external circumstance or individual couldn't rattle your peace if they tried. And maybe above all, if you're lighthearted, if you've been laughing a lot, that's a real good sign. All of those are good signs that you're looking to what in Unity we call this Christ identity or your authenticity. It's what and who you and I really are. It's the ultimate divine identity. Doesn't get any better than that. And you can say all day long, I don't believe that that's what I am. From my perspective, I wouldn't believe that that was true at all. I would say we've simply fallen under almost a spell, you could say, of influencing one another in ways that are not in alignment with the truth of who and what we are. That's why just take a moment right now and say silently to yourself, I'm so grateful that I'm sitting here at Unity Temple on the Plaza this morning, because everything in your life, you know, has conspired on your behalf to bring you into this teaching. And it is a true gift. Don't you agree? It's such a gift to be able to have this understanding, not only of a new understanding of Christianity and the life, the teaching, and the ministry of Jesus, but everyday application. I love that we were initially labeled practical Christianity. That means if you can't take it and put it to use and practice in your everyday life, it's not worth having. It's got to be practical. It's got to be something that really serves you from day to day. And one of the ways that you know that you're getting aligned with this essential truth or authenticity that you are is that your world is not so much driven by what's going on outside of you as what is going on inside of you. And you begin to experience life not so much through your five senses as through your intuition. And you know, for a lot of us, we were pretty much convinced that intuition wasn't worth paying attention to. We had to have facts, we had to have figures, we had to have statistics, we had to have manifest proof. So we're in this process together, I believe, of moving from an understanding of ourselves, life, and one another that is inauthentic into a greater sense of authenticity. And that generates authentic energy, which then generates an external reality that's authentic, that's different from the one that we've been experiencing since the time we began to believe ourselves to be inauthentic in nature. And that's big, my friends, because what it says is it's never about what's going on out here, not at the ultimate end of the day. It's not what's going on out here, it's what is going on in here. And there is, I believe, within every one of us, this wellspring of peace, joy, health, wealth, and love that is waiting to step in and lead, guide, direct our lives. We're each a part of one whole being, one whole, complete, essential being. It's true that we perceive ourselves as many and as different individuals. That's our perception. That's our sense consciousness telling us, look out here. It's obviously true that we're all separated men and women. I remember a quote that Myrtle Fillmore spoke years ago when she said, there is no such thing as separated bodies. Not ultimately. I know that's the way it appears on the inauthentic screen out here, but we are all a part of one being. We're complete. We're different. We're comprised, goodness knows, of many and very diverse attributes. Some of those are very Christ-like, if you will. They're very authentic, and some of them are very inauthentic. Some are egoic in nature. Now, this is an important point to emphasize, I believe, that none of these perspectives, none of these dimensions here that we're dealing with is good or bad or right or wrong. So I really want to encourage myself as I encourage you not to demonize this ego, not to demonize your own inauthenticity, and not to punish or persecute yourself when you find yourself hanging out there. Just realize there are two different vantage points, and they produce two very different experiences of day-to-day reality in our lives. I want to share a statement with you this morning, and you can be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody else in the room. You don't have to tell me. But I'm going to make a statement, and I just want you to check in with yourself once I make this statement as to what's going on inside of you in terms of any reaction you may have when I speak these words. Everything is happening in exactly the right way, at precisely the right time, regardless of any judgment to the contrary. Just take that in for a minute. Check in with yourself to see where you're at with that. I'm going to say it again. Everything is happening in exactly the right way, at precisely the right time, regardless of any judgments to the contrary. So check in with yourself. I believe you'll have one of two reactions, or maybe a combination of these two. The one I'm going to say is an inauthentic reaction to that. It's going to say, what planet are you living on? Everything is happening in exactly the right way. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's not only an insensitive comment, it's ignorant to say when you look out here at all the punishing and the torment that's going on in the world. How can you do that? Look at the state of what's happening here. It's pure hell. That, I propose to you, is not good, not bad, not right or wrong. It's just an inauthentic response, and we all have levels of inauthenticity within us. A perhaps more authentic response could be, how could it really be otherwise? When I wake up in the morning and I look at the sky and the stars and the clouds were so beautiful this morning, weren't they? And I hope they still are out there. And you look at the majestic way in which this cosmos is unfolding, how could it be otherwise than to recognize it's all happening in the right way at the right time, regardless of what I think or how I'm judging it? They are the truest words ever spoken to your authentic self. And this is why so many people, when they get into unity and we say, well, we believe there's one presence, one power, it's God, it's good. Right. Look out into the world. Doesn't seem that way. That's because we're all so heavily immersed in this inauthentic understanding of life and how that projects into our day-to-day experience of reality. Any Byron Katie fans in the room? Byron Katie. She put together a marvelous piece of instruction and guidance called The Work. And she has a book called, many books, but one of them is called Loving What Is. These are her words. And I love the way she just puts it right out there. She says, hey, life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment. Never too soon and never too late. You don't have to believe it, and you don't have to like it. It's just a whole lot easier if you do. You don't have to believe it, everything's happening in exactly the right way. You don't have to like it, because sometimes things aren't working the way you would like for them to work in your life. But if you can step into it and just explore it a bit, I believe you'll find that whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, it's a marvelous attribute of this life. It's a marvelous discovery for us to have made. In unity, in 2 words, we call this divine order. Divine order. Can you say that with me? Divine order. And what that means, my friends, is there is something that is guiding every step of your life, of my life, whether we're conscious of it or not. Again, look at the cosmos. How could all of this be unfolding so majestically, so magnificently, and we're the only exception? We're the ones that were left out of that order? I don't believe it. Looking back over my life, at this point in my life, I realized there have been many moments, probably the majority of moments, even being a good Unity student, where my inauthenticity was defining me, what wasn't true about me. Because it takes a while, doesn't it? It takes practice to get to the place where you liberate yourself from believing lies that you once thought were true about yourself, life, and other people. So I've lived a lot of moments of frustration, of anger, of overwhelm. But the longer I've been on this planet, the more I can look back and realize it's been amazing. It's been an amazing, amazing journey. I wasn't always conscious of it, but who decided that all this would come together? Who decided for myself personally, and look at your own life, that I was going to be born into this movement called Unity, that I would spend all of my summer days right here in this temple, being exposed to these teachings at a very, very early time in my life? Who could have ever imagined that from that I would ultimately become a member of the Youth of Unity, and then in the 1970s start working at Unity Village? 1975 was the year that I began there. It was not a good year for me until my mother came home from Unity Village Chapel and said that they had announced they were looking for a tour guide. And so I went to apply for that position with very long hair straggling down my back. It's a miracle that they hired me, but they did. How did that happen? Who could have set this thing up? Who would have known that I would ultimately be employed there, that I would meet the woman that was going to be my wife and the mother of my 2 phenomenal, beloved children? I know that some of us friends, we strategize this better than I ever have, because I've never been good at planning every detail of my life and executing that. But something has been moving me through these experiences. So I have the 2 children. I eventually got invited, I think maybe I told you this story, but I can't remember, to go to dinner with Connie Fillmore, who was the great-granddaughter of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who are the founders of Unity. And she, at that time, was president. She said, "I want to go to dinner with you." I said, "Oh, got to watch the kids tonight." My secretary says, "Forget the kids, I'll watch them. You go have dinner with Connie Fillmore." So I did, and it was in that evening at a restaurant just down the street here where she asked me if I would be interested in becoming executive vice president of Unity School of Christianity at Unity Village, our world headquarters. And I think, if I didn't tell you, I'll tell you this morning, in that very moment, and I'm not stretching the truth here, the piano player in the restaurant started playing "Send in the Clowns." And that was the beginning of 10 years as vice president out at our headquarters, and there were many clowns that were being sent in throughout that decade, I can tell you that. Ultimately then, Connie deciding she no longer wanted to continue to lead the movement. She was the last in the Fillmore lineage, so it was time for big change. Duke was a part of that, stepping in at a very crucial moment in the evolution of our worldwide movement. I leave Unity Village and move to West Palm Beach, Florida. I went to apply for this job in West Palm Beach. I didn't think I was going to take it because it was a church that had been struggling, and they sort of had a reputation for chewing up and spitting out ministers. But I went down nonetheless because I love Florida. So there I am in West Palm Beach. I speak. I have this experience, a phenomenal encounter with the church, with the congregation, with the board. And flying back on the plane to Kansas City, I knew that was my next assignment. Can't explain it. It wasn't something that I could evaluate or set up just in terms of external conditions. It was something that was flowing, trying to flow through me. And then I was happy as a clam in West Palm Beach until one day I was out walking my dog, my 85-pound black lab that I mentioned to you, I think last week. Her name was Spirit. And we're just walking along innocently, and I swear it was like something touched me on the shoulder and said, "You need to apply for the Miami church." Well, I had never once in 5 years of living in West Palm Beach tarried down into the dark domain of Miami, Florida, because that's the way it felt to me. I grew up here in Kansas City. I had straw behind my ears, okay? So this is all new to me, but it was the same thing. Something just said, it's time. It's time. Go with this. Move with it. Trust the process. And I did that for 16 years, and then I'm laying innocently and comfortably on the beach in Hollywood Beach, Florida, having a wonderful time, a break, a little spiritual renewal, recharge time. And we had just finished a 5-year strategic plan for the future of the spiritual community. And I hear this voice clear as a bell that says, this plan is not yours. It's time to leave. So I end up coming back here to Kansas City, retiring, thoroughly enjoying the presence of being with my family again, all of whom remained in Kansas City while I was down in South Florida. And I didn't mean to demean the city of Miami. It's a beautiful, dynamic city. It was just a lot for me at that time because it wasn't something I was accustomed to. So, lo and behold, I'm back in Kansas City, and I think it was a Facebook message from Duke. Would you like to come speak at Unity Temple on the Plaza? Which many of you know now has become a part of my retirement that I never forecasted, that I never saw coming. But friends, this is where it all began for me. And it's like my whole life now has gone full circle, and now I'm back again. I want you all to understand what this means to me, because I know that it means something to you to be in this place, doesn't it? Aren't you just as grateful as you could ever be that you found this and that this is your spiritual home? To be able to recognize this is all, I call it repeatedly, a divine conspiracy. It's a divine setup. If we can just open ourselves to that and stop believing that we and we alone are in charge of everybody and everything. Stop trying to take God's job from God and let God be God. Recognizing then that in being God, we are being ourselves. One of my favorite metaphysical authors, and he was a prolific author, Joel Goldsmith. He said many things years ago that really challenged me, but I like it when I'm challenged about something when I hear it, because it means that I want to go a little deeper into it. These are his words. He says, "You see, I am God, which means I am the source of all truth and all wisdom." Now, that's a bold statement that you don't want to make to just anybody. I am God. Now, he would always follow that by saying, the Father and I, God and I are one, but the Father or God is greater than I. So I want you to get a glimpse of this, that he's saying, I am God, but he's not saying I alone exclusively am God. What he was able to do, I think, was pretty effectively eliminate any idea of separation between himself and the divine. And even sometimes when we use that word God, it can set up a duality. God and I, as opposed to having this realization that Joel had. He goes on to say, therefore, Joel does not have to go any further than to turn within to the I to receive the impartations of truth, of wisdom from the source, because Joel and the Father are one. Sitting right here in this chair is both Father and Son, and Joel only has to turn within. And the I, what I will call this morning authenticity, the I, which is the Father, begins to reveal itself, its truth, and its wisdom. I believe, my friends, that at the very core of your being, there's a treasure beyond compare that is waiting right now in this moment to reveal itself to you, to me, and potentially to the whole human race. It's made up of infinite creativity, infinite intelligence. It's who and what you are. It's who and what I am. It's who and what we are, and it can be totally trusted to guide every step of your life, because my proposal to you is it's doing this whether you're aware of it or not. And as Byron Katie told us, it's just a whole lot more fun to be aware of it, to cooperate with it, to create conscious contact with your authentic essence, and to make the development of this relationship your number one priority in life. As long as we are observing the inauthentic drama taking place out here, there are a million different things that have to take priority in our lives. But from the spiritual perspective of who you are in your authenticity, there's only one thing, there's only one priority, and that is to fall in love with who and what you really are. Fall head over heels in love. And you know what happens when you fall head over heels in love? All you want to do is spend every single moment of your life in the embrace, in the presence, or at least on the telephone with that person. So can you take on that same relationship with the authenticity, with the Christ nature that dwells within you? And my answer to you is you absolutely can do that. In fact, that's the assignment that we have all received. This relationship, remember, it's an internal relationship now. So we're going to give ourselves permission to let go of external appearances for a few moments and step into what I'm going to call this morning authentic communion. And sometimes you'll notice I change vocabulary from traditional religious and even sometimes traditional unity verbiage. And I do this because I believe that you and we are constantly evolving to deeper and more pure understandings of the truth. And sometimes our language has to modify with it. So I'm using authentic communion, which most would probably call prayer. And if it is prayer, and I'm fine with that term, I've been a prayer all my life. If it is prayer, it is needless prayer. Needless prayer. And it doesn't mean that prayer or communion isn't necessary. It just means that you never approach it from the perspective of feeling as though you need anything. Because that very act in itself, oh, I need this, indicates that you're in a lax state of consciousness. Instead of being able to say, I'm here not to make any requests of anybody. Does anybody remember that Jim Carrey movie? I can't remember the name of it, where he was God, I believe. And they're making prayer requests of him, and he's got Post-it notes covering the walls and covering the file cabinets, because imagine if God was present for every single need. And of course, God is, but I'm talking about a needless state. The only reason that I am entering into this state is because I want to quiet my mind. I want to open my heart. And I want to be as receptive as I possibly can be to my authenticity. Didn't mean for that to be poetic, but that's just the way it came out. To be completely open and receptive. I'm not here for anything. I'm not going into this experience because I expect something, need something. I'm not going because I want to be healed or because I want more money in the bank. I'm just going because I'm in love with this essence that I am, and I love spending time with it. And for me, that has pretty much bubbled and boiled down to 3 words, and they are these: grateful, relaxed, silent. Every moment, my friends, that we can invest in gratitude, in relaxation. Relax. God's got this. And then be silent. As much as possible outside of us, but most especially inside of us, to that incessant voice that constantly wants to pull us back into inauthenticity, back into the world of time and space. So it becomes a matter of release and then increase. Release, increase. Release your preoccupation with everything that's going on out here. Increase your preoccupation with what's going on inside of you. Because friends, anything and everything you've ever wanted, I promise you, will never be found outside of you. It's all inside of you. And as you identify with that and let that be who you define yourself to be in this life, I believe you're going to find that everywhere you go, you're going to want to be an ambassador of these essential divine qualities, this authenticity that dwells within you. And every interaction then in your external world becomes a holy instant, a moment in which you're conscious of who you are, you're conscious of what you're seeing in this outer projection, and you're knowing the truth for both yourself, for others, and for life. It doesn't get any more powerful than this, my friends. Suddenly you find yourself wanting to open the doors for other people. Suddenly you want to find yourself being as much of a support as you can for yourself, but also for others. And suddenly you begin to realize who you really are. And this is where I will use the unity term, the Christ. It's not Jesus' last name, by the way. It's a state of consciousness. It's your natural place to dwell and to live. And today would be a most excellent day, I believe, for you to claim that for yourself and move out and be the powerful agent that you are intended to be, to see this world transform right before your eyes.
As we move into this moment of meditation, close your eyes, relax your gaze, and allow yourself to be in this moment. Release and increase. Follow your breath. As you breathe out, release, lack. And as you breathe in, increase of that which you are. Breathe out challenges. Breathe in opportunity. And remember that it is always you as you move further into this meditation. Slowly bring your awareness back to this moment and continue to follow your breath. Out breath, release. In breath, increase.
I breathe in, I breathe out, I take in, I give out, I let love, I let go, I release, and I know. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe.
We now move to that special time in our service where we give of our offerings. And if you would recite this with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. And so it is.
Life can be what I make it to be. Everything real comes naturally. magic with me in a place I can't see when I dream, when I dream. Dream of the mountains that one day I'll climb, or travel the oceans inside of my mind. Everything's possible, everything's fine when I dream, when I dream. Anytime I go inside and ask the questions in my mind, relax and breathe and enjoy the ride. Mystery adventure is waiting for me. I let myself float on the wings of desire, turning that feeling of passion to fire. Letting go is all that's required when I dream, when I dream. Anytime I go inside and ask the questions in my mind, relax and breathe and enjoy the ride. Mystery adventure is waiting for me. I let myself float on the wings of desire, turning that feeling of passion to fire. Letting go is all that's required when I dream, when I dream, when I dream, when I dream. Walking in the light of God, we're walking in the light of God. We're walking in the love of God. We're walking in the love of God. We're walking, we're walking, we're walking in the love of God. We're walking, we're walking, we're walking in the love of God. 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 We're walking, we're walking, we're walking in the love of God. We're walking, we're walking, we're walking in the love of God.
Hi, kids. How are you guys doing this morning?
Nowhere.
I'm like a ninja sometimes.
Yeah, you appear out of nowhere.
That's good. So what did we learn in class today?
Oh wait, no, you said learn. I thought you said make.
What'd you make?
We made pictures of us with God outside of us, and we colored the picture half black. I can explain.
All right, we'll turn to the instructor.
We talked about the light of God in all of us, and then the children are invited, and we're doing a whole series on creation and how we create things with our imagination. So we invited the children to draw pictures reflecting the light of God that's in them, and yes, it does come out sometimes. And then we invited them to color half of the picture black to show that sometimes we hide that light. So hopefully that makes sense.
And thank you guys for always being brave to come up here. I saw you guys turn that song into a rock. It was like this amazing concert out there. I saw you guys dancing, very inspiring. So thank you for that. We will now conclude our service with the prayer for protection and the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.